So welcome back to Third Rate Content. Today we are in North Shropshire. We are at Hawkstone Park Follies and we are going to be following on the Third Rate Content Holy Grail quest. We haven't done one for a little while, but we're back on the quest now. And we're going to be following up on some of Graham Phillips's work out here on his trail that he followed and found what he thinks is the physical Holy Grail. We're finding out all about that and about the follies here at Hawkstone Park, one of them just up on the hilltop there. So buckle up and I'll see you out here. The greenhouse, this Gothic style building, was originally halfway round one of the walks at the follies, and it was where you had refreshments, etc. It's now where you get tickets, and the visitor centre is here. Obviously, the King Arthur myth, legend, is a central part of the lore of Hawkstone Park. And as you can see, it's celebrated here in the visitor centre, and the works of Graham Phillips are prominently displayed here. These runes look very interesting, or perhaps it's Ogrim. I'm not sure. Tell us in the comments if you've got an opinion on this or knowledge. Thank you. But these King Arthur relics, they really do set the tone for our upcoming walk. So Hawkstone Park Follies is set in 100 acres of natural parkland. It's all made from rugged natural sandstone, which is abundant in this area. Hawkstone Park Follies became one of the most visited attractions in the 19th century. Of course, it would have been richer people who were travelling from all over the country to visit it, and they would even stay in the locality for 2 or 3 days to get the most out of the visit. But obviously, working class people wouldn't have had the time or the money to make these holiday vacation sort of visits to places like this. Hawkstone Estate was purchased by Sir Rowland Hill. You have to excuse me, there's horseflies everywhere again. Yeah, it's purchased by Sir Rowland Hill, who was the first Protestant mayor of London in the 1500s, the 16th century. He purchased the estate for £700, which is still a huge amount of money to me today, but it must have been an absolute princely sum in the 1500s. Yeah, 3 generations of the Hills lived here uneventfully. Not much alterations were made to the park in this time, in these generations. Sort of 250, 300 years. This giant piece of sandstone wedged up against the tree. Well, the tree's roots are actually all around it now. Another Richard Hill inherited the estate in 1700, and he was a councillor for the king and queen of that day. And he was inspired because he travelled a lot on behalf of the king and queen around Europe, and he was inspired by the architecture he had seen there in such places as Spain, France, Italy, and this inspiration led him to make Hawkstone Park Follies what it is today. It was added to throughout the 1700s and the 1800s, early part. Over the next 100 years, Richard Hill and his brother, Thomas Hill, added to the Hawkstone Park Follies. And then obviously after they had passed, the Follies were added to further until the Hawkstone Park became a national attraction known throughout the land. So sadly, the last member of the Hill family to own Hawkstone Park was declared bankrupt in 1894, thus ending the hundreds of years that the Hill family had been associated with Hawkstone Park Follies. The size of the park and its extensiveness became a real financial burden for the Hills, and it was this huge financial undertaking that had been undertaken by one of their ancestors that caused them to go under, basically. And that was the end of the Hills association with Hawkstone Park and its follies. Stuff like this bridge that needs constant upkeep, that would make it extremely dangerous, what with all these valleys and hollows all around the place. That would make this walk extremely dangerous if it wasn't kept up, you know, and its maintenance basically kept safe. After the Hills had ceased to be the owners of Hawkstone Park Follies, it came into disrepair and ruin for best part of 100 years, and it was only known to locals. This wonderful landscape was only known to locals and visited by them, and because it had become completely overgrown, and things like that bridge and other safety features had perished and gone, and it really just wasn't a safe area for people to charge money to expect people to visit when they're risking life and limb. But what an amazing place to visit anyway. But imagine being brought here by someone, a local, and investigating it at that time. It would have been basically like entering a fairy tale. Not that it isn't now, but it would have been an unknown, mysterious landscape. Fantastic. So this white tower is now red. I wonder if it did have white plaster. Back in the 1800s, when it was built by Lord Hill himself, who was second in command to Wellington at the Battle of Waterloo, and also in the Peninsular War in the years leading up to that famous battle. But it's octagonal, so it's got 8 sides, which is very much like the church in Hodnet, which we visited some months back. And with Hawkstone Park being embroiled in the Holy Grail quest, and Hodnet Church also having some significant clues that Graham Phillips followed on his own Holy Grail quest, which we're sort of following now, You do wonder, there is a coincidence right there, and with Hodnet not being too far from here, you do wonder if it's just a plain coincidence or something else. Tell me in the comments what you think. In this Victorian rhododendron jungle, it definitely does feel quite enchanted, somewhat. Yeah, it is supposed to be haunted by goblins, sprites, fairies, pooks, trolls, and goblins. Did I say goblins already? But anyway, all these sort of folkloric, mythological creatures, and they're supposed to be very much down this rhododendron walk. So buckle up if we see any. But they generally keep out the way of third-rate content, except for that one incident at Hodnet Church some months back when we were on the Holy Grail quest. So who knows what's going to happen. But that's the beauty of third-rate content. You just don't know what's ahead. There are times when decapitating a troll is the desired outcome for a quest, but I don't think it's so good here in the Enchanted Wood. I do love a good spiral staircase, although it's not a true spiral because spirals go outwards from the centre, and of course spiral staircases don't in most examples. Tell you, it is high up here. I'm so glad this railing's here. And I'll tell you another thing about heights like this. It makes me feel loads more sicker if I look up like that. Whew. Let's have a quick look up at the statue at the top. I feel real sick at the moment. There he is. Absolutely amazing view up here. We visited many of the sites that we can see from up here. I don't feel very comfortable up this height. I'm so glad there's railings. I just don't want to drop the phone. Yeah, it made me feel absolutely sick at the top of there. But you know what they say? They say a lot, horsefly. It's good to do things you hate doing from time to time. And that was one of them. It was very close to here. On Hawkstone Estate, the bungalow is visible from the golf course where Christine Keeler And Perfumo, who the Conservative MP in the early 1960s, was giving secrets to his lover, Christine Keeler, who was giving the information to the Russians. Their love nest bungalow was on Hawkstone Park estate, and it goes back to, you know, early 1960s. Shropshire really wasn't known about hardly at all. I mean, you had the A49. People used the A49 from the northwest to go on their holidays in Cornwall and whatnot, but Shrewsbury and Shropshire was virtually unknown outside of that. So it was very much a case of hiding in plain sight in the depths of Shropshire, but very, very close to the A49, the major road of Shropshire at that time, and still to some extent. Cottage just behind me, the circular cottage, it looks quite Neolithic. But that's at one point in the 18th century, 19th century, was the home to a hermit, a 90-year-old hermit who would come out, and for people on their walks like we are today, come out barefoot and give them advice, and then retreat back into his cottage and go about his business, looking at the views and just living in this wonderful landscape. Interesting hole in the ground here. Has got some pipework leading into it. Is it a double grave? Who knows? It's definitely here now. Question mark, question mark, question mark. I do like a bit of mystery on third-rate content. Yeah, if you went off trail here, there's trails leading off the trail. They're not official, but you could spend days lost in Hawkstone Park Follies. That's if you didn't get sucked up into another realm. It could happen. Who knows? As you probably know, I don't love heights. I don't like them at all. But we are going to go definitely over the Swiss Bridge. We've got to do it while we're here. It is thin and it is wooden, and it's over a huge drop and gorge. But we are going. Let's do it. Let's do it. Look at that. Oh, I think I heard it cracking. I am joking. Yeah, it's real wet here. We don't slip off. It could happen. It could happen, but it won't this time. Oh, imagine this. No handrail. My legs would be turning to jelly right now. But they're not. That's where we want to go. Yeah, I imagine it's going to take us down a stairway just down there, look. Yeah, we're in the gorge that we were looking down on from the bridge. It's the Trinity. Not sure what it was put here for though. So many little idiosyncrasies in this Hawkstone Park Follies that you could spend probably weeks here cataloguing them all. But anyway, let's continue looking for the Red Castle and the Holy Grail quest. We are on it, so let's keep looking. So going back to the research of Graham Phillips, who investigated Shropshire and this area of Hawkstone Park Follies in depth in the early 1990s, I think it was. And he found the Holy Grail here. We have covered the Holy Grail quite extensively on our Whittington Castle video, our Hodnett video and our White Ladies Priory video that we did earlier on this year. I'll leave links to them in the description box. At Hawkstone Park, Graham Phillips realised something about the Holy Grail. Let's find out what it was. Shropshire was once known as the White County, or the White Land to be more accurate. But Phillips followed the trails of clues left by Thomas Wright, the 19th century antiquarian and descendant of Fulk Fitzwarren of Whittington and Whittington Castle, and the originator of many myths and legends. Of course, the physical Holy Grail was thought to be an alabaster jar made of green onyx, a very popular material to make vessels like this in the 1st century AD, which would have been the time of Jesus Christ. But it is thought that this vessel was used by Mary Magdalene to collect a few drops of blood from Jesus Christ after the crucifixion and Golgotha incident or event. Holy Grail was thought to have remained in the Holy Land for several hundred years until it was rediscovered by Helena, the mother of Constantine the Great, the man or the emperor who turned the Roman Empire into a Christian sort of outfit. But I mean, the reason he did it wasn't because he was a Christian. It was actually because Christians were a lot easier to control than pagans. So it was like a managerial decision. But anyway, his mother finding lots of artifacts from Jesus, his time, really helped the cause, I would think. Constantine remained a pagan for the whole of his life, but his subjects turned Christian. You can see the fairways of one of the golf courses just down there, and the Christine Keeler bungalow would have just been somewhere around here, I think. Wonder what this is from up on the summit. There's iron on it, bit of concrete. Yeah, I'm gonna have to invest in a wind muff. I think a viewer did suggest it the other day, and I completely agree with it, and I'm gonna get one at the nearest possible availability. I just haven't done it yet, sorry. But the vessel or the cup was thought to have been in the possession of the Romans for hundreds of years, or several hundred years, until Rome was sacked in 410 AD. And lots of relics, or several relics, were moved out of Rome, and it is thought that some of them made their way to the British Isles for safety. Although Britain itself was falling at this time, so I'm not 100% sure why that worked. But Rome itself had been sacked, so getting anything valuable out of that city would have been a must. So perhaps, yeah, the British Isles were the safest bet. But there it remained for hundreds of years, or here it remained for hundreds of years. Thomas Wright, the Shropshire antiquarian, was also a descendant of the Thomas Wright, who was a landscape architect who designed Shugborough Hall and the very enigmatic Shepherds of Arcadia monument in the grounds of that stately home. Of course, this subject is vast and includes a holy blood or Holy Grail of the south of France mystery, a painting by Baroque painter, 17th century Nicolas Poussin, and many, many mysteries which you could do a series of videos for months on. But it all adds to the mythos of the Holy Grail here at Hawkstone Park Follies and in the lost land of the Cathars in that part of France, the Landioch. And of course the mystery at Shugborough Hall. Graham Phillips actually was using one of Thomas Wright's books, A History of Shropshire, as a clue or a series of clues to find the physical Holy Grail, and he uncoded from the back pages of the volume some clues. There was the clues in Latin, and there was also a picture of Hawkstone Park. So you would lead you to the conclusion that there's something here, or there was something here at Hawkstone Park. Had the ruined arch. It's a strange little picture. Can't get to it. Yeah, so right over there is the Red Castle, and that is steeped in history and legend. It just looks like an outcrop of rock from here, but that is one of only 2 rock-cut castles in the country, and at the moment it's not available for exploring. The castle is right in the middle of the golf course, just in the middle of several fairways. As you can see, there's small wood surrounding it. I was just talking to a guy who works here, and he says there will be, in future, he's hoping this year, this summer, but at some point in future anyway, there will be tours around it, because he says it's full of tunnels, secrets, mysteries, and third-rate content, and all of us would love to visit that. But the Red Castle has ties to Arthurian legends, because there was said to be 2 giants who lived there. 2 giant brothers. The brothers were named Tarquin and Tarquinius. Captured Sir Gawain, and he had to be rescued by Sir Lancelot, who killed the giants and made the Red Castle free. With this view here, I can almost imagine this story packed with legend and myth. Some of this having credence. It is absolutely ancient and preserved in its own right. Coram lived in a rock-cut castle. He was an elf though, and he was in a Michael Moorcock fantasy book. But a great story, and that's what I think of when I think of rock-cut castles. Natural and almost invisible to the human eye, but they are actually elfin fortifications. You can see why my mind works like it does. All the fiction, weird fiction I've read. Here we have the caverns. bit of the Knights Templar grotto near Shifnal. Or another Legends sanctuary. I mean, I'm not going with Dan Jones' theory that it is a folly, considering he's never visited the site. But it may not be Knights Templar. But the scholarly studies on the Shropshire Star article that featured third-rate content did say it was a emulation of the Holy Sepulchre's Church in the Holy Land. But this set of caves, this complex of caves, has got an Arthurian tie, because it is thought that King Arthur himself addressed the Knights of the Round Table in these very caves. And you can feel it, the atmosphere in here, or the emotion or the legend in this very, very cave. It's amazing to think that we are in here all together and drinking in the King Arthur atmosphere. But not only that, the Holy Grail. Because the next clue, Latin clue at the back of Thomas Wright's book, The History of Shropshire, led Graham Phillips to the bowels of the earth. Underneath the arches, the eye catcher, as above, so below. But below was an area that was thought to have been used by the Romans to mine copper. And Graham Phillips descended into the bowels of the earth where we are now. He found the ruined statues, and the next clue led him to Hodnett Church. And it almost looks like a mighty tree down here. It's really not, it's made of stone. Absolutely. Yeah, so Graham Phillips had been led to the bowels of the earth, the former Roman copper mines where we are now, and also where King Arthur is said to have addressed the Knights of the Round Table. But this statue of a lion here and the other one here were installed by Thomas Wright, the Shropshire antiquarian. And it was when one of these was moved in the early 1980s that a small cavity was discovered in the back of it. And that is where the small egg cup-sized alabaster green onyx vessel was discovered. And that is what Graham Phillips believes is the physical Holy Grail. You believe what you like. I just brought you today on our Holy Grail quest to the very site of where what is thought may be the Holy Grail was recovered. Of course, it wasn't Graham Phillips who did recover it himself. It had been recovered in the early 1980s, and he contacted the descendant of the man who found it. She still had it wrapped in 1940s newspaper, and when she shared it with Graham Phillips, he believed that he had found the Holy Grail. You think what you like. I just told you the facts from today. But anyway, thank you for joining me on Third Rate Content. It's been a fantastic, exciting mystery adventure, and we found what we were looking for. So if I don't see you soon, I'll see you 3 times as soon. Third Rate Content, signing out. Bye-bye. Look at this. Sandstone boulder embedded in the tree. The tree's just grown up around it. Pretty amazing, actually.
And just before we go, if you did enjoy today, why don't you leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, but thank you if you have, and leave a comment. I do love a good comment. I read them all and I reply where appropriate and applicable. Thank you.
This place is absolutely amazing. Like a little hobbit house.